You're about to watch a video that's the first of 3 parts. These videos were triggered because I received all these information based on a video about Terry Fenwick. Terry Fenwick is now the national coach of Trinidad and Tobago Soccer Warriors, and for some reason there have been these videos, negative videos, based on his alleged problems or of the past. For me, the timing stinks in terms of this information coming off, and I'm a bit resistive based on the fact that Terry Fenwick is now the national coach. Had anything in the interest of Trinidad and Tobago football was supposed to be done, it should have been done prior to that. And everybody is entitled to their opinion, and so I'm entitled to mine. I don't like to be too opinionated. I just lead with the facts. So remember, this is the first of 3 parts. This part is the audio of Terry Fenwick allegations to Terry Fenwick. The second part will be the interview with Terry Fenwick addressing these a few of these allegations. And the third part would be with me continuing this to address some of you in these pictures and why are we going the way we're going when you look at the history. If you feel to get in contact with me, it wouldn't change the sequence of the 3. Nobody can change the sequence. I answer to no one besides the Almighty.
Turning a blind eye because he's English. What is the real story behind Terence William Fenwick? He played for Spurs in the English top flight and for England in the World Cup, in which he became famous for being dribbled past by the legend Maturana when he scored that famous solo goal against England in the 1986. Fenwick landed in Trinidad in 2001, where he has made his home ever since. He secured a job with Pro League club San Juan Jabulé. With his relative success coaching in the Trinidad and Tobago Pro League, Fenwick seemed to become somewhat of a lord unto himself and behaves as if he is untouchable. His many distasteful behaviours and perpetrated fraudulent actions, most recently reported by Inside World Football, seem to go unnoticed by the local Trinidad and Tobago media houses and football bosses. Fenwick takes full advantage of that, which has allowed him to become Trinidad and Tobago's men's senior national football team coach. In Fenwick's own country, he is considered one of the worst managers in the history of the game, and his transgressions in his motherland, some of them he has had to serve jail time for, makes it almost impossible for him to get a job in football in England and Europe. During his time at San Juan Jabulé, he was allegedly accused of abusing players, sometimes kicking them and calling them black bastards. In 2005, Fenwick viciously elbowed an opposing team player in a cup final. He got away with just a slap on the wrist. Most recently, this incident was brought back into focus when Fenwick landed the Trinidad and Tobago national team job. Favourite son of the soil, Russell F.I.F.A, has this to say.
I don't personally know Mr. Terry Fenwick, and we've had very little interaction. However, based on the recent reports in the media, and if these reports bear any truth, what I can definitely say is that he's not the person to lead our national team and football moving forward. Recalling that incident which happened with a player and Terry a few years ago, where he elbowed that player when he ran to the bench to celebrate a goal, I think this incident warranted penalties for Terry, which excluded him from national team coaching. Had this incident happened in the UK with one of us, we would have been banned or harsher measures would have been enforced.
George Davis at Sportsmax, who at the time was doing an expose on Fenwick's dodgy contract that was signed by ousted T.T.F.A President William Wallace and his General Secretary, Ramesh Raman, had this to say.
Russell F.I.F.A is correct though. Had a black player coaching in England done that, Russell said he would have been banned. I think he would have been jailed for assault for that. So Russell Latifi is absolutely correct, and that person would have been forever persona non grata where it comes to managing a football team in England. So Fenwick did something that in Trinidad and Tobago that a black player could not have gotten away with in England. Fenwick's day of reckoning, if there should be one, it will come. You can't escape it.
T.T.F.A board member Brent Sancho has claimed that Fenwick's dodgy contract with Trinidad and Tobago's Football Association was drawn up by Fenwick's personal lawyer, who at the same time was also the T.T.F.A's legal representative. Fenwick's abusive behaviour during his stint as head coach at Jabalay reached an all-time low when he verbally abused and chased after the club's founder and chairman Jerry Hospelenders in the car park of the Marvin Lee Stadium after a game, threatening to take him down. This happened in full view of the public. The staff at Jabalay eventually came to the rescue of their chairman, and Nick and Jabalay eventually parted ways under acrimonious circumstances. In 2015, Fenwick was being investigated for obtaining money under false pretence from the Ministry of Sport in Trinidad and Tobago. This is what the Trinidad Guardian newspaper reported on September the 3rd, 2015. English football coach Terry Fenwick has been allegedly linked to a $450,000 attempted fraud, which is under investigation by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The alleged fraud revolves around an application to the Ministry of Sport to receive funding to enter his club, Marpo Football Club, into the Trinidad and Tobago Pro League for the 2015-2016 season. It is alleged that there was an attempt to misinform the Ministry's permanent secretary, Gillian McIntyre, by stating that Marpo had invested $8.5 million in refurbishing the Morvant recreation ground. The file also included alleged references to before and after photographs purporting to be of the grounds, which were photographs of a facility outside Trinidad and Tobago. The alleged fraud only came to light after the $450,000 cheque had been issued payable to Marpo. A source inside the Ministry of Sport, who wished to remain anonymous, said Fenwick and his partner was in and out of the ministry for weeks looking for money for his football club and his coaching school, Football Factory. Everything seemed normal until it was discovered that Marpo's application to join the Pro League had been rejected. As per terms of the funding, McIntyre immediately moved to cancel the cheque. However, upon review of the file, various inaccuracies were discovered, resulting in a decision to call the police in to investigate further. The last thing we wanted in the ministry is another scandal, said the source. Unknown to many of us, the ministry had put in place a system to check files that were approved for funding to ensure proper procedures were followed. The source said one such procedure would usually be a site visit. We're supposed to go and check on the people applying to ensure everything is exactly as claimed. Usually an application takes several weeks to be approved. However, in the case of Marpo, it was processed in a week. I have never seen a file like it approved so fast. It appears there wasn't time to conduct a site visit, which would have exposed the discrepancies. Somehow the Englishman dodged another bullet. As it appears, someone ensured that Fenwick came out unscathed. However, many locals still remember this incident, as well as another, where he and his longtime partner Peter Miller allegedly scammed over $1 million Trinidad Tobago dollars from then Jabalay sponsor insurance giant Glico. Miller sped off to Atlanta to live, while Fenwick stuck around in Trinidad plotting his way to get his dream job of becoming the country's national coach. A disastrous stint in Belgium with 3rd Division club CS Visa was presided over by Fenwick, and he left the club in financial ruins, let alone being demoted after being in charge for just one season. In his last home game, there he suffered a 10-0 defeat. Fenwick returned to Trinidad and had his last coaching stint in 2014 at Central Football Club before he became national coach in 2020. He has been 6 years between coaching jobs and was appointed despite not having any national team coaching experience. Though that might be disputable depending on who is doing the interview and which one of Fenwick's resumes you're reading, since the dodgy Englishman has listed on his resume that he was the national team coach for the DR Congo in 2005. The truth is, he only held this position in his dreams. On closer examination of his resume, one will discover a number of dubious lies, the most noteworthy being that he acquired ownership of Pro League outfit increased.As. But Terry is like the proverbial cat and has 9 lives, so it continues as business as usual for the Englishman in Trinidad and Tobago. With his good bosom buddy and eventually his agent Peter Miller, he set about a scheme to land his dream job, along with a bunch of false promises, which turned out to be false promises of sponsorship contracts. Fenwick waved his magic wand over the bosses of the United T.T.F.A. He had them in his back pocket and was given the national coach position, despite Fenwick being the person who was responsible for procuring and delivering the fraudulent Junior Sammy sponsorship letter, which has caused so much embarrassment to William Wallace and company in the build-up to the T.T.F.A's elections on November the 24th, 2019. Such was his influence, he was able to land a big but dubious contract with the Trinidad and Tobago national team coach, which should now be fully investigated and not swept under the carpet. Why? Because Fenwick seems to think he will be protected by some influential persons in the Twin Islands state. Such is his seemingly untouchable nature. Terry Fenwick is currently using his own private coaches from his football factory school to run the current national team training sessions, along with some of the duly appointed T.T.F.A staff coaches. Mesras, Trim and Romain are ever present at every session, and despite written complaints and objections to the powers that be by senior technical and administrative staff attached to the men's senior team, a blind eye is being turned. Maybe it is Fenwick's connections with Catalyst 4 PSN in Newcastle and the promises being made to certain key individuals in Trinidad and Tobago that keep him sheltered and protected. If it were a Dennis Lawrence or a Russell Laperty or even a Dwight York involved in just one of these several indiscretions of the Englishman Fenwick, they would have never been appointed national coach, and if they had managed to land the job, they would have been relieved of their duties already. This one stinks to high heaven, and what example is being shown to young aspiring national footballers and coaches? What is Shaker, walk and chew at the same time, Hislop, and Kelvin, shape Jack's take on this whole situation? What is needed for sure is some big saves to protect Trinidad and Tobago from a virus that has been existing in its football for the past 20 years. If nothing is done, it could well turn into a pandemic.